Good news, everyone! Ubisoft is having a very bad year. Yes, they released the first Quadra A game ever, Skull and Bones, and it lost them hundreds of millions of dollars. Delicious. They dropped Star Wars Outlaws, a Han Solo style fantasy from one of the best known IPs in the world, utter bomb. They put out a new Prince of Persia game, which some have said was actually good, but did not do well either. X-Defiant might have happened. Who knows? And Assassin's Creed Shadows was delayed. Assassin's Creed is one of their foundational games, and this one is meant to be massive, and has already been very expensive to make and completely full of controversy. To briefly go over it, they tried to convince the world that the best lead for the first AC game set in Japan during Oda Nobunaga's reign is a black foreigner. This got even worse as they tried to alter history, using Wikipedia, journalists, and a white historian's fanfiction, which references itself for evidence, to try to fool everyone into thinking this guy, who was in Japan for about a year, ended up being a fully fledged samurai warrior. Ubisoft, being the most racist gaming corporation out there, skipped the Tokyo Game Show for AC Shadows entirely due to pushback from the Japanese community after realizing they were being heavily slandered. Despite regularly claiming they need consultants and DEI hires to be authentic and being one of the most focused on cultural sensitivity and fighting cultural colonization and appropriation, they were the ones putting Chinese buildings in the game. They got seasons and village layouts completely wrong, and there's dozens of videos just about their promo material going over all the complete errors and authenticity they managed to pull off. One of their biggest mistakes, though, right before the delay, was they were caught faking authentic Japanese relics by just buying stuff off Amazon for their convention displays. But the biggest one was the inclusion of Yasuke, the Black Samurai, seemingly destroying the one-legged Torii Gate. On top of this being a religious symbol in general, this specific one is a symbol of the atomic bombings of World War II. Needless to say, did not go over particularly well. Now, Ubisoft has job listings in China for Japanese localization and in Japan for Korean localization, so there's no real question on what they're doing here. They're just completely messing things up intentionally. And now they stepped in it big time, as one of the higher-ups in the company openly came out and admitted some utterly astonishing things, like the sort of stuff you'd expect from a disgruntled employee, not someone heading a project. AC Shadows is, according to Ubisoft staff, one of the worst games they've ever seen. I want to repeat that. According to Ubisoft, their flagship game is the worst thing they've ever seen just months from launch. And they gave an explanation for this. Half the staff are new and have never made a game, and very few staff have Assassin's Creed experience. Now, they don't go into why this has happened, but we can explain it for you because this has happened at almost all game studios after getting into the DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. You may have even noticed this yourself. If you have a performance plan or requirements for getting a raise or a bonus or some sort of company culture related quarterly or yearly report, often you have to fill out some pages on things you've done and what you plan to do to improve. If you have DEI or ESG, you likely have recently seen a category for DEI-related stuff. You'll need to watch some videos or take some actions, maybe a class, towards being a better person regarding disability, gender, or race something or other. This is not a corrective thing. This is just a base. You need to go and do this stuff, learn about this stuff as part of your job, even if it has nothing to do with what you're doing. And this is very common now in many workplaces. If you get this and you are not the protected identity class, the next thing that may happen is you start to get unusual management interference. They give you tasks that are not part of your workload. You suddenly get unreasonable expectations that you could never finish, or you get an HR complaint against you. Then you are being hounded to finish some specific tasks, or you now have an apprentice, either a DEI hire or someone from another department or segment of the company, perhaps a friend of your management, and you need to teach them in a month or so everything that is needed to do your job. If this happens to you, or happened to you, congrats. You just got fired for not being diverse enough. And that has been happening across the AAA Western games industry. Sadly, the way it happens includes manipulation, threats of blacklisting, so many won't speak out. Some don't even realize they were forced out of their role for these reasons. Ubisoft was rife with this. But the thing is, sometimes you can't teach someone fully how to do your job in a few weeks. Or that person is just not capable of it because they were a DEI hire. Or even if they were capable of it, you've taught them how you do it, but it does not match with their learning and performance style. And since it's in such a rushed way, it doesn't give you the chance to see some of the stranger things that can go wrong. Now, fill a studio with quickly trained newbies that now have a shallow pool of knowledge to function at the job, but lack depth to understand what to do when things go wrong. Guess what? A game like AC Shadows is going to have a lot of things go wrong, and we're seeing exactly what happens with DEI. And this is the bigger issue than just, oh, the game is woke, oh, the game has a bunch of woke themes. This stuff damages a studio at a structural level. And that means they can't just decide to start making games that people like again. It's too late. It's already rotted from the inside. There is no easy fix. This can take years if it can be fixed at all. And there's sadly some very talented vets who have not yet been pushed out who are trying to be Atlas for Ubisoft on their backs, while some new, passionate devs who could have become great have been tossed into the fire. Think about how many developers worked on a game like Concord for nearly a decade. And now think about some of them actually are genuinely talented. But what do they have on their resume? 10 years making a game that went absolutely nowhere. They have nothing to show for it. That is a long time to waste in an industry without something on your resume, without something to put in your portfolio. Now, Ubisoft has birthed some of the most awful consulting firms working behind the scenes to ruin gaming for everyone. They are known for slopifying games, especially open world games. Their awful UI and quest systems are basically memes at this point that are used to explain any terrible user interface in any game. They went all in on NFTs, microtransactions, multiple digital tiers in single-player games. Behind the scenes, they could have been the best-known exploitative and assault-based studio if not for Blizzard taking that from them at about the same time all the accusations came out. And there is really nothing left for them beyond the memory of IPs that were once good. This is a studio in crisis, and even investors are now angry at them, suggesting that the company is being intentionally tanked by the Guillemets because they want to sell it to Tencent. So in other words, 2024 has been a great year for gaming, and seeing such a scummy company that has completely turned its back on the audience fail at everything they do just makes it better. Don't forget to check out Ubisoft's new NFT game. Yes, they're still trying to make that one work. Out of touch.